Thank you all for coming in Corona times. It's been some fear of Corona today, which I guess it might last for years and years. So we all have to decide the days that we are able to go outside and meet people and when we're not. But I'm really happy that you guys came, that we can be 30 people in here now. So strange times, isn't it? Very, very weird. But I'm so happy about today's program, and I really appreciate being able to fill up now in a way that I didn't really appreciate before. Now it's like when I'm given a lecture or a piece of art and I can go see, I really understand what it means to me. So that's a very important thing, I think, for us that to learn these days, that you cannot reach the world through internet in any way. So today's topic is, can we draw a line from Mexico to Sápmi? Some time ago, I had a meeting with I'm going to try it. It's very hard for a Norwegian or even trying to speak English to say his name correctly, but I've been practicing. Jorge Manilla, we had a meeting at the school and because of something else. And then by the end, after the meeting, he showed me some images from a lecture he has been working on. It was of Mexican historical art, and it was very recognizable to me, since I have been to Mexico, although it was a very long time ago. Today, that trip many years ago, before I had my child, so it's actually 23 years ago. When I think about that trip, it's like a flicker behind my eyelids. And it's a mixture of indigenous culture, the Spanish, the Catholic, pagan, magic, violence, strong colors, gold, silver, glitter, and beauty. And especially I do remember the Ethnographic Museum in Mexico City, where I guess you've been a lot, Jorge, which contained an enormous collection of historical and fantastic, and I mean fantastic in the real sense of the word, objects related to place and geographical places and skills. I remember the murals of Diego Rivera and Tamayo, and the blue house of Frida Kahlo, and of course the table where Trotsky was killed with an ice pick in 1940, which still stands in exactly the same way. Nobody has touched anything for 80 years. And to me I understood after I had been there that to me it was totally necessary to visit Latin America, to read and understand, to be able to read and understand magical realism. It was a non-open world to me before I went to Latin America, and it changed. So literature that had been close to me was opened up after I saw the world that actually exists, that doesn't exist here. I was so amazed when Jorge showed me his lecture that I asked him to make a lecture for Agenda Arts and Craft. We have a great opportunity now, especially while Jorge is teaching here in Oslo, not only to meet the amazing Mexican artist he is, but also to get a unique insight in Mexican art history. Jorge was the one that suggested to invite Joar, since he himself is interested in Sápmi art, and looking at both Jorge Manilla's work and Sápmi art, that is quite understandable. I'm not going to anticipate how you guys are going to link today's lectures, but I hope that you as an audience, as me, will find both links and relations between two so seemingly different countries and cultures. Then I'm going to introduce Jorge. Jorge Manilla grew up in Mexico City as the son of a family of Mexican goldsmiths and engravers. He studied visual arts at the Academy of San Carlos in Mexico and received a highly technical jewelry training at the Academy of Crafts and Design from the Mexican Institutes of Fine Arts. He did a research PhD, a research project, PhD, at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp, in Belgium, under the name Other Bodies. Jorge Manilla is presently sharing his time between Ghent in Belgium and Oslo. He is currently a professor and a subject area coordinator at the metal department at KIO. He still teaches and gives lectures and workshops in the different schools all over Europe. Still traveling. Since 2010, he has been giving workshops around the world. And his work has been shown in several exhibitions and is included in collections in all 5 continents. And this is an excerpt from his artist statement. Over the last years, the artists Jorge Manilla has rediscovered his love for the black color, for the color black. To the artist black, to Manilla, black relates to something hidden, the secretive and the unknown. And as a result, it creates an air of mystery. It keeps things bottled up inside, hidden from the world. His dark forms and shapes create a barrier between the meanings of objects and the outside world. Black implies self-control and discipline, independence and strong will. It gives an impression of authority and power. And for him, black is the end. But the end always implies a new beginning. When the light appears, black becomes white, the color of new beginnings. Welcome so much to today's agenda.
Well, thank you everyone to be here. Lotte, my name was almost perfect. The difficult part, G, you say perfect, and it was just Manilla. It's with double L. S, G. So the easy part was. Thank you everyone to be here today. And talking about this situation when we meet with Lotte and we decided to I mean, she asked me to do a lecture, an agenda, and this talk, we went with a completely different intention that turns in a completely different way. And this turns, again, in another situation that is this, that we are here today. The lecture I showed her, it was prepared for a completely different situation also. And this makes me think, when we communicate, how often we are really aware about what we are communicating and who we are in which situation and in which context. And this is something that occupies my mind for a long time. I'm Mexican, and even in Mexico, I have sometimes some, I don't want to say difficulties, just some situations because of my look. It happens that the people, I'm the very normal guy, but it happened that if I get in the public transport, someone will take the bag away, like afraid that I will steal, or some people will be care about me. One of the topics that I told Lotte is, I'm here head professor, but in Mexico it will be even difficult to find a job in a 7-Eleven selling things because just of the look, you know. We have, you will see throughout this lecture, we have some different races, different types of people, and my concern, it was how we are shaped by the society and how we are shaped by our past. So I just want to say again, thank you for all of you to be here. Thank you for Lotte and Jor for accepting this invitation also, but especially for all of you to be here in these COVID times. So I will try to start and be as clear as better like that, be as clear as possible. So just one more thing, as this lecture is completely different of the lectures I'm used to do it. I don't know if it's about my work, or if it's about me, or if it's about something else, but we will see. You just listen to me, and after you are allowed to make a lot of questions. Absolutely, I will talk just a little bit about my work, but in general will be different. So, from my multiple identities, today I am the foreign artist. I am the professor of the metal and art jewelry department. Or maybe I am just the Mexican barrio boy that I was used to be in my past in Mexico. In my young days, I was very wild. I was very crazy. But maybe I am a little bit of each of them, with a big cloud of philosophical doubts, with some fragments of academic input, and sometimes have a lot of nostalgic for Mexico. Sometimes I think, in the name of art, we are spending time together. We have a collective art, and this time we are trying to come together as today. Today, I'm very happy that we can share this almost ritual COVID times in this small space, where we can be that we will share some thoughts, theories, stories, and maybe we became a little bit more open after this, or maybe we became a little bit more intellectual, or maybe we became a little bit more ourselves. In the name of art, people have sacrificed themselves in a way of success. In the name of contemporary art, people have created a lot of new mental rooms, maybe words, theories, rules, even corporations and groups to communicate or express disagreements, or new, or maybe very new, of what I say new vintage, new ideologies. For the art, we make new friends. We create communities. We try to join new tribes, new groups. We invent conceptual passports. We create new countries, even if those countries sometimes doesn't exist, just here in our minds. We try to create new environments with the ideologies. Well, our people invent a lot of mysterious, adapted, and modified languages, visually and also with words. We create a lot of complicated words. We try to create religious communities, places, and why not, some spaces that switch those philosophies. And to be an artist with a lot of needs and aspirations, or maybe without this. Artists are like a priestess, or like a priest, in my eyes, has been in parallel universes, in which they are trying to find and engage with that meaningful forms of freedom and creativity. To try to find the soul and the freedom. Freedom, really? Well, in this sense, I think that if we are free, we are talking about that kind of democracy, a true democracy. And this democracy can only exist in the imagination of art, often something sacred. Or maybe, no, maybe I am wrong, because maybe I am telling you something that you disagree, and who I am to propose or to make these questions. Maybe I am just a common Mexican guy that formulate these kind of arguments. And because maybe if you look at me and you make questions about me, maybe you will think that I am not in my context, or maybe not. Maybe you welcome me. But how can I understand art in another context? It's the same kind of art that we are talking about? Because this is not my house. This is not my language. And these are not my rules. So, dear audience, today I will become your mirror. And you are my today's ephemeral audience. You are, at least for the next 40 minutes, my community. You will be my friends. You will be my support. And probably after, you will become my family. But I don't know. After this lecture, we will see what happens. Now, I feel very attracted to you. And probably, you are surprised because I say that. This is a common situation as a Mexican. We became friends very fast. I'm attracted to you. And probably you are a little bit scared of me, to the possibility that I will say something that is not politically correct. Or maybe Even worse, that I will ask you to do something indecent in the name of art. Well, I was imagining today have here a mariachi, and to the rhythm of the mariachi, explain you that in Mexico, we don't have a Taco Friday. Or maybe to have a Mexican punk group, and with the anarchist lyrics, explain you that we don't drink tequila sunrise, that we don't put lemon in the hands and salt and we drink like that, no. But don't worry, we don't have mariachis, we don't have punk band, even we don't have a metal of cumbia band. Because really, I promise you, I don't will ask you this. I don't will ask you any inappropriate thing, not even to dance a cumbia with me. And I say, I feel really close to you, because my only hope is today in you, in your eyes, and your ears, and your way to understand my words, and in your hands, because you will shape at your conclusions, even if I disagree with that. Because I'm my audience today, you are my salvation. And also, I hope that together we can change the course of the story, even if it's only during this talk. Remember, in my world, there are approximately 26 million inhabitants. 26 million inhabitants only in Mexico City. I'm not talking about the whole country. I'm only talking about Mexico City. In my world, there is clothing, housing, education, and medical attention. There is everything. That is working is another story. But there is. In my world, we don't have difference between sameness and difference, between borders and countries. Absolutely, it's very easy to cross borders, especially the ones of the south to the north. In my world, we don't have illegal peoples, we don't have immigrants, we don't have others, we don't have strange-looking guys. It's not too good or not too bad. There are no terrorists, we don't have crime cartels, we have no prostitutes. In my world, there are no guns, there are no weapons, because there is no fear. In my world, there is a place for everyone. Everyone who wants to talk, or just be there without do nothing. I can tell you, in my world, people solve their disagreements in two ways. We have very intense discussions and very interesting, of we hit each other. And after we are friends. In my world, we believe in new philosophies. We believe in a lot of pre-Hispanic philosophy, and sometimes quantic psychic rules every single day, and a lot of political discussions. And all the social media is run only by artists and thinkers. They are beautiful statements, isn't it? But are they true? In my world, it's all this. And in your world, which kind of statements do you have? But if I say, for the duration of this talk, there are some small rules. And I hope we can agree. Racism, exclusion, bad feelings doesn't exist. And this podium, and now at the places where the people will listen to this lecture in some days. No? I am sure that no one's here hate immigrants, gays, lesbian, and not even someone with a different way of thinking or opinion, because we are free, we are artists, we are intellectuals, and we are humans. Is not this an accurate statement also? Well, it's yes. In the sense of artistic reality, always can overshadow art reality. But for the next minutes, I will share my reality and my world, my thoughts, and maybe you will follow me, or maybe we will agree or disagree, or understand each other, or maybe not. It depends of how you will look at the professor, or maybe at the artist, or the Mexican, and what you will say. Why do you have to choose for one person of the three personalities, if you are the same? Well, because wherever I say, you will understand wherever you want. And this is the amazing part of this magic moment. I remember many years ago when I told my family that I wanted to become an artist, Do you know what they say to me? They told me, no, you will become drugs addict. You have to study something productive, and you have to assure your future. Do some real studies. And I was just thinking, this is a problem of a little bit art world related ignorance of my family environment. But being in Europe some years later, having concluded my second master, I was talking with someone, and this person asked me, what do you do for work? And I say, I'm an artist and I am professor. And they told me, no, but for real work. Then I was thinking, why you are asking me? And after a while, I come to the conclusion they were expecting me to say I was working in the fabric, as a lot of my Latino friends are doing. It's a little bit cliche, but it's a reality also. My first feedback in my education in Europe, because I did also a sculpture. I'm also a sculptor in Belgium. In my first education there, the feedback and the comment, it was, your work is typical Mexican. Excuse me? Can you tell me what is typical Mexican? Because I'm coming from there, and I cannot define what is typical Mexican. Then, they kind of make a exchange with me. They give me their appreciation of what they think that it was typical Mexican, in exchange for my silence, in order to avoid some aggressive discussion there, because we started to get very excited. And on that moment, I say, well, this is art, and art is working. But let's talk a little bit more about this and clarify some points in the context of my world. We are Mexicans. We are the Spanish Mexicanos, or Mexicanos, as we say correctly in Mexico. We are people from Mexico, and Mexico is a country in the north part of America. So we are now South Americans, because in a lot of places here in Europe, we are, as Mexicans, also called Sudacas, and we are not Sudacas. We are from the north part. Mexico is a city founded in Tenochtitlan, which is the main city, located on a small island in the Lake of Texcoco in the Valley of Mexico. So you have to imagine that Mexico, later you will see some images. Mexico, it was a lake, and the Aztecs started to build atop a city there. So nowadays, Mexico still built atop in a lake, and it's on water, and every year start to sink a lot of centimeters. Then this became one of the most important cities. The most spoken language in Mexico is Spanish. And we have a lot of cases of people who speak languages, different languages, about 68 different indigenous languages, officially, that people still exist in. 68. And it was a study that say that they cannot call dialects because they have the complexity of a language. So there are 68 different languages spoken in one country. So how can I define what is typical Mexican? There are other languages that are brought to Mexico for recent migrations of people who is living in other nations, and they come back and they speak in another language, like I don't know if you hear something about the Spanglish. That is the Cholos, or are the Mexicans who go or are born in the States and go back to Mexico, and they cannot speak properly English and not properly Spanish, and they speak Spanglish. So, and like that, I can tell you a lot of things. There are about 12 million Mexican nationals residing outside Mexico, 12 millions, with about 11.7 millions living in the United States, above these 12 millions. The larger Mexican diaspora can also include individuals that are trace ancestry to Mexico and self-identify as Mexican, even if they don't have a passport or they don't have the real culture of the language. In Mexico, and this is real, we have Mestizo Mexicans, which is the first mix between Indian and European people. We have white Mexicans. We have indigenous Mexicans. We have Arab Mexicans, Jewish Mexicans, Afro-Mexican, Asian Mexican, German Mexican. And this is only talking about mestizo with other groups. But when you take indigenous Mexicans and you mix with Afro people, you have a result that it's called Sambo. It's another group. And I can start a list again. So just to give you this introduction, then what is typical Mexican? But this is not my intention to give you today like a history lesson or something like that. It's just my question is, how do we engage in a global dialogue? What is the notion of living together? I think democracy cannot thrive without art. Democracy cannot happen without a critical voice. And the artist constantly is testing the limits, the possibilities. Imagine a world with a lot of trying outs without a yes man, someone who always says yes. I guess democracy cannot exist without the ethical mirror of art reflecting the distorted issues of power. But maybe, do you think I am exaggerating? Or maybe you are getting a little bit lost in my dialogue? Maybe you disagree, or your answer is not? Maybe with my comments about democracy? I don't know. Maybe this magic ritual start to losing the magic aspects and it's hard to follow my logic because I am trying to talk a lot about a lot of things. But I think it's because probably or obviously you have to tell me you are not listening to the artist, but you are trying to put me in a context as academic professor, or maybe you are trying to imagine me as a Mexican guy in the front of you. But as I told you in the beginning, today, I am your mirror. And then you can see in me a very poetic reflection, or maybe a no well-defined image, or a completely confusing something. But in the end, I don't think this is a problem. I think that the problem is how conscious we are and commit and real in order to have a certain knowledge from each situation, from a conversation, from a meet with someone. And then, how can we express talk about social, political, and cultural questions? And how do we contrast with artistic questions? Sometimes, I think this kind of question has to be a daily exercise, continuous project to everyone which is committed with art. So, thinking about that, maybe we have to reconsider a lot of things. We can decide again if we follow or we allowed to be treated as we don't want to be treated, but just to be part of it. We agree with some things. But there are other questions that appears now. Why the society try to deny and they don't listen to the artist? Or maybe no, why institutions are not listening to the artist? Or maybe I'm just wondering why artists are not listening to other artists. Maybe because it's more about the control, it's more about having a certain position, power, about listen or collaborate, or maybe not about talk and discussion, but maybe about something different. Why so many people as in the art field unemployed and they are trying to get money from another job not related to their art? And I'm talking this, and maybe you will say, well, I know a lot of artists who are working as an artist and having money. In which context? In Norwegian context, or in Latino context, of an American context, of an African context? Why the number of these unemployed people is much higher than other profession? Do these have to do with the capacities? Or is the talent? Or are the ethnical groups? Or is a kind of anti-intellectualism from the society? Maybe you are wondering again why this guy is making these questions. And also I don't know why I'm making these questions. Just I'm thinking loud and I am raising questions because of the same situation that I am here today, that we don't know. Taking as example this moment, if we are here and I am in this part of the podium, I am wondering if this makes a difference in our positions because I am here talking to you. critical artists, of critical people. And I'm here as a respected professor of as another person, and it's these democratic situations. Well, then if you say yes, that means that I can say wherever I want. I can say that. And if the answer is not, maybe I'm wondering why am I allowed to talk about these kind of topics in a so open way if can be very sensitive for some of us. Then what is my goal here? I don't know, nothing really, except to share with you who I am, share my dogs, my experiences. And since there are no agreements to understand each other and what I am telling you, I conclude that we just have to keep our critical way of thinking and the rest doesn't matter. Because maybe we are living in a society beyond content, that they have to expect that we have this critical point of view to make sense about what we are talking about. I mean, there are a lot of things that are made in the name of art. I can tell you, in my country, I experience a lot of things. And if I put me in those contexts, I don't know if some of you saw my previous lecture here. I used to be a boxer in Mexico, a semi-professional boxer. And a lot of people get shocked when I say that, just because they think in violence. And for me, that was completely the opposite. That was the only way to canalize a lot of energy, a lot of dogs, a lot of discipline. And then I was living 2 years, and I pay my art education from boxing every Saturday. So imagine me that I try to hit someone in the name of art as a performance action, as a kind of dialogue also in communication. Or maybe I can try to find a lot of complicated academic words in order to explain you something, the same that I am doing, just knowing that some of you, the very, very specific people, will understand what I am talking about. Or maybe I can just talk as a Mexican, and I can tell you this and share some experience that someone told me once. You, Mexicans, you talk too much. And I don't know, and this person told me like that it took me a lot of weeks to understand. He say, maybe it's because you are rich pigment skin people. I have to take this as a compliment or as an offense. I don't know. I was thinking after, why this person say that? Because it's true, I am rich pigment skin. And in which gamma of the pigments I am? And I went back to, I am Mexican mestizo, of I am Mexican indigenous, of I am Mexican, what kind of Mexican I am? Why is this color of skin? Because my brother have a different one and my sister a different one. So, and we are coming from the same family. So what does means this? And then say, you can do this. And then I was thinking, okay, if I have these qualities as a Mexican, being an artist, then can I burn my passport here in the front of you? Or maybe I can destroy my work in the front of you. Or maybe I can put in question my statement on my last work. I don't know. And then I started thinking about the relationship that we as Mexicans have with the body, the human body. And I was thinking, what if I action one of my organs online as a form of art or performance art? And I am sure that tomorrow will be a big comment, and for the next 2 weeks, I will be a Facebook or Instagram post, and after I will be completely forgotten. So, dear audience, I'm coming to one conclusion, and then let's start. This is very hard to understand each other. Doesn't matter what I say, because you will interpret it in the way you want. Because you will think that is my problem, how I am talking, or maybe it's my English, or maybe it's your way to understand me. Often, I think that it's very easy to make this kind of critics of make work that is very critical and shocking. Or maybe we can make work that is funny or ironic. But what about the questioning? What about the power to define, to make questions, to propose, to do a lot of things? I don't know. Are those expressions designing what we call today contemporary and strong identities? What are those identities? What is your identity? I'm glad we decided to be in this context, and I am glad that in our world, art world, imagination is the only law. That this is part of a everyday life, and that everyone practices what they believe is art. Sometimes those cross my mind, and I start thinking about my career, and I start thinking about that the years are passing. I'm very active, and if you follow me a little bit, you should know I am active as 22 hours a day, I promise you. And then I'm thinking, but what will happen? What I get? I'm really happy with that. Maybe in some years I will be too old to be part of a subculture and participate on this. Or maybe in a very contemporary environment, I don't will fit there anymore because I will be very vintage. Or maybe I will be a very strange looking guy to get a chic job in some institution or somewhere else. And then I start to thinking what I am doing now, where I am now, really I am now, not living, where I am now, physically and mentally. Where do I belong? Because I'm Mexican, I have a Belgian nationality, a Belgian passport, and I have a full-time job in Oslo. So this kind of nomad way of living and moving is always changing your mind, changing your thoughts, the situations, the way of thinking, the way how do you feel. And this is very exhausting after some years. Where is my freedom? Where can I call home? What is right? What is wrong? What do you know about me? What do you think like that about me? Or maybe you are not thinking nothing about me. What do you know? What do I know about you? So, I don't know. We can make jokes. We can talk and shit. We can go further. We can be very open. We can have discussions and real discussions. I was thinking what to do when the contemporary discourses, all the art discourses today and the narratives start to get weak, where we will find the force and which path we have to take in order to reactivate these discussions again. A while ago, I became obsessed with a kind of spiritual sources. And then I had a very deep feeling of expansion located in my chest, in my abdomen, or maybe somewhere else in my body. But then I was trying to feel comfortable, and I was feeling comfortable because those are the things that I will show you that are related to spirituality, that it was never very clear in my mind. But when I started to believe in that, my rational part of intellectual part blocked that. Because then, if I believe in that, probably I am not smart enough. I just hope to find one day the balance. And I hope one day to feel safe in a place. Maybe when my hope is located somewhere else, in the most obscure places. Where are those obscure places? My mind? My heart? Maybe a book? Maybe some artwork? Some performance art? Maybe in a nomad way of living as I do? But today I told you, you are my hope. My hope is located in you. Only for those minutes, I really, and I promise you, believe in me. Only for those minutes, join me, support me. And I promise you, after this, I don't will hug you. I don't will do anything. We can talk a little bit about this, and after we will see. So, my work has been largely discussed in the context of death, violence, between the religious and the pagan, between the ugly and the beautiful, between the aesthetics and the expressions. I like to expand my works based on literature, including concepts of identity and portraits. I try to explore different expressions, objects, sculptures, body related objects, and photography use. I want to show you some images. This is the place where I come from. It's Mexico City, and it's just a small fragment of the city. Mexico City used to be located in the lake, as I told you. This is a small part saved. But you have to imagine the whole Mexico was built up on water, something like that. It's still on water. So, in my culture, we believe that the Aztecs, that they were called Mexicas on that time, they were coming from north of Mexico. And a place that we don't know if this place was existing and real. If this place exists. There are some reference that this place was real, but no one's know where this place is located. This is a place of the 7 caves. And they say that these caves were completely dark, and that was kind of infra world that they were coming out looking for the promised land, the promised country. They started this kind of path, pilgrim's way of doing. They started to writing the story in these kind of books that are made on amate, papel amate, this called this. It's like a amate paper. It's a kind of fiber coming from the bark of the trees. And they made this paper. And the Aztecs, they don't have the same way of writing as us. They were writing with a lot of symbols. And they were looking for this place, which was the promised land. They were trying to write some codex. Those exist at least 6 to 8 different codex, because a lot of them were burned by the Spanish people, because they wanted to stop the beliefs, the cosmogonical way of thinking, and were papers more or less like that. And then I could focus on one of these images and start to explain you all the symbolism, which is very complex. And again, it's another way to understand why they put the circle, the feather, the weapon, the dots, the colors, the points. So it's something very complex. And let's start. This is a piece which is the only not recognizable Aztec piece. It's a mask that is about 5 centimeters high, and is the only wooden mask that is still existing so far. I love it, because they survive everything, more than 500 years in wood. I like the aspects between animal and between sacred, something holy. I like the interpretations. Imagine this is like the snake with feathers. Can you imagine a snake and with feathers? What does this mean, a snake with feathers? This means that the snake is related to the earth, to the terrenal, to us, and the feathers are bringing to the sacred, to the holy. I like the symmetry of the pieces, the relation between an animal aspect, human aspect, death, and life. Do you see the scar? There are a lot of snakes. They have 2 hearts. They have 4 hands, which relates to the universe. 2 faces of the snake. That's like a yin and yang. We are a very body-related, fragmented country and culture. We love decoration, body-related issues, identity, masks, what is existing and what is not existing. What are the relationships with the objects? This is the Tezcatlipoca, which means a smoking mirror. And this is a related object which was used to do rituals, to take the heart out of the people. Even if this stay continuously investigation if it was true or not. Those objects are amazing, and I love it because those are mirrors. Those exist only 5 in the world. Are made of obsidian, this volcan stone, And they were working literal as mirrors for the soul. But some people say that they were also used for some esoterical and magic aspects. And do you know Nostradamus? Seems that Nostradamus have one of these. I mean, it's just, for me, it's incredible to think now about what the meaning of the mirror is, with the meaning of the mirror on that time. And it was working more or less like that. The first interpretation of mirrors that they got, it was the water. The offers, how do we talk? And we still having this Dia de los Muertos, which is the Day of the Dead celebration, which is huge and incredible. And this is this kind of communication that we have. How do we communicate with dead people? We're still doing, even today. We have a big celebration. How do they communicate? And the sacrifices and group. There are a lot of theories that these people were prisoners, that people was offering themselves to be honored, to be sacrificed. I don't know, but I love those images, as imagine the people together in this almost sacred ritual, and after what left are the objects used for that. This is why I'm very interested in the symbols and the value of the materials, and the symbol and the value of the objects related to certain situations. Those are some of the codex that we supposed to be. They are speculations of cannibalism, even if they don't know if it's true or not. There are some of the cultures, like the Amazonas, that they think that it was some cannibalism, some rituals they take. You see the knife is the same as the black one I showed you. It's this identity after the identity. They were decorating. They were giving a new personality to the people. They were creating these masks to put on the graves when the people have this decomposition time. They were not losing the identity because they got a new one before they were leaving. The mask was related to the sun, to the man, to the water. Sometimes when you look a little bit careful to these pieces, you will understand that Mexico City is located in the center of the country. So we don't have any sea around Mexico City on that moment. We got the lake, but where the shells are coming from. And this is how materials started to get a value. And this time to get a shell, it was to get gold. They were exchanging some materials. It was very hard to get some materials. And this is why it became so precious. The way of working, of decorating, of giving expressions, using the objects connected to the personality of the people. I love all these kind of mystic aspects, rituals, what happened. We are here today, but maybe are not tomorrow. I can tell you in my past, I have a lot of stories. I was losing a lot of people, and maybe this is why the approach to the black color, to the religious, to the past, to my ancestors, to what we believe, because we are given these images in the Catholic religion in order to believe in something. But even without these images, we were believing in something. So nowadays, what happened? We have experienced for 500 years a kind of syncretism. And this syncretism is reflected like that. And this is based on the possibilities. If you don't have to pay, if you don't have money to pay a good tattoo artist, you get something like that. If you have money to pay a good tattoo artist, you get something like that. But the belief is still the same. This is another approach to what I believe that in my culture was another kind of appropriation and the other way around. The Spanish people came to indoctrinate the Indian people, and they give God. They say it's Jesus. No more your gods. It's Jesus. And they started to make the indigenous people make these, how do you say, statues of sculptures of these Jesus representations. And then the Indian people say, you are doing in wood, and this is too heavy. We cannot carry on all these hundred of kilos on our back. So they invent their own way to represent this in a corn pasta with a kind of skeleton and a kind of Mexican bamboo that is called carrizo. And then they create the skeleton and they cover with paper, with the paper of the codex, and they started to put a lot of this pasta in order to make very, very realistic, because they say, wait a minute, explain me the story of this guy again. So they were told that he was sacrificed and all the story. And the Aztecs, they say, the same happened with us. You come to us and you hit us, you torture us, you kill us, so this guy is ours. So they appropriate this image, they change the color of the skin, they made very dramatic, they put real hair, they put real bones on it, they put a lot of the very personal identity and this other culture that is still existing till today. There is no other country in the world that have so bloody Jesus as we have in Mexico. And this is how sometimes you start to think about that there is so Baroque as in Mexico. It's one element in the top to each other. Think about the images I show you of the offers, of the schools. It's like a kind of repetition. This is how we are related to small pieces and to small offers. This is called ex votos, and we go to the church and we hang something in order to ask a favor back. And this is in a lot of other countries, but I'm showing you now why I am attracted for all these aspects: human, limbs, belief, death, symbols, religion. This is another aspect of how Mexicans, it's called ex votos mexicanos, and how Mexicans represent in a very naive way very hard stories. There are no professional painters. Even they cannot write correctly. And they represent images in order to say thank you. You can see there on the top the holy images. That one. I will tell you about the other one. But this one, the holy image, and this is telling that it was a prostitute that got almost killed by a customer. And she was praying to be saved. So she survived. And she let it paint this, that is called ex voto, in order to say thank you to the saint. This is a Mexican naive expression, like a syncretism expression. The second picture is one of the most famous paints of Frida Kahlo. It's called Unos Cuantos Piquetitos, so some knives in your body. So this is kind of how artists sometimes were translating very literal the Mexican expressions. And you can go in churches and you can see all these whole walls. I just will go very fast for some other rituals. This is my religion, and I don't want to take that much about this, but it's called the Holy Dead. And now the Holy Dead is very focused on other aspects, like there are linked with criminals and some prostitutes. But in the end, I promise you, we got from very small guys and from a very traditional approach. It's the same as like the Virgin, and it's a mix between the indigenous beliefs and the Catholic beliefs. We don't have a church, we have altars. We don't have to pay, we have to offer. And you offer what you want or what you can. There are a lot of pilgrims, there are a lot of families, and this is kind of one of the main women, which is supporting this religion. And she was involved in a lot of cases, like a lot of people wants to link her with drugs or with other things, but she's still believing on that. I like how we make artifacts and objects to represent the symbol. I like how we make the rituals. I like the actions, the repetition, the expressions, and the belief and the faith. I like how we are involved in this kind of situation since we are very small guys. And sometimes we are not aware of this. We just keep these images. And sometimes years later, you come to that. And I am showing you all these images because this is something that is not imposed. We just grow up with these images in your face and the back part of your mind. And after there is a moment that is coming back. There are some limpias that call this, and there are some rituals to purify, to be clean. I'm very interested in that also. I have been working about this. Objects, fetish, and amulets. Which kind of objects are too weird to see, to use for some ritual aspects, for the belief, for the faith. Those are in some Mexican cemeteries. And for me, sometimes it's not to imagine how in such big city with a lot of professional people, even the president or some other people is still believing in that. Our presidents, doesn't matter if it's right or links, they have a personal spiritual people joining them. They have a personal spiritual people doing this kind of, how do you call this? Like, I mean, amulets, fetish. This is black magic, something like that. They are trying to conquer their opponents via this way also, not only with words. This is another way of communicating. This is another way of interact, of doing things. If I go to the cemetery and I see something like that, I know what I have to do with it. You have to protect, you have to walk in a certain way, you have to do a certain ritual. There are like some hidden codes that you know that you don't have to go closer to that. And this is like a kind of language that is imposed, or it's just part of my culture. You don't know all these things when you look at me. You don't know all these things when I tell to you. And sometimes for me, it's evident when I tell you something that you will understand all these backgrounds. And this is how I guess in our society we are trying to communicate and to do things. That what I tell you, for me, is a fact that you will understand me, but I don't know that you are not part of all this. As Lotte say, all this magic realism, that in the end you see this and you will say, this is terrible, I don't want to live there. But in the end, I guess we are one of the most friendly society. We will join you. We will ask you to join us, to invite you to open the houses. You are welcome. If I invite you to eat, you are more than welcome with 1 of 3 or 5 friends, doesn't matter. The moment is to join together. And then, I'm sorry for this, but I have to show you because it's part of all these things and I will save you. I was born in the end of the 70s. And this is how we buy the newspapers in Mexico. Are in the street. So, as a small child, you walk and you see all this. And you see a lot of images, like a sport, like a beautiful girls, like some political aspects with big red letters. But in my time, it was and still today, these things like that. This is something very political, and they say cannibal. A poet, crazy poet, was killing the girlfriends and was cutting in small pieces, and he was eating that. I mean, when you are a 5 years old child and you go walk and you see these images or those images, it's quite hard. But it's not that someone is forcing you. It's just something that you are collecting and you here in the back part. And there is a moment that is coming back. And for me, was the creative moment. I don't want to explain my work. I just want to share with you some images. Why I am very interested in make objects with a high symbolical value of the materials. This piece is made of human ribs. I make slides. I'm jewelry goldsmith and as a sculptor. This is coming from a cemetery where my brother is. He's dead. Of my walk. I'm using some animals also. This is an object that belongs to a collection in the States, but in the end the work becomes a huge picture of that. There are some body-related objects and some sculptures I am doing. Those pieces are part of my PhD research. I like to work with materials that I am collecting in my travels and that I link to a kind of topic. Thus, I was very criticized for this work because a lot of people was thinking I was using intestines of animals. And I was telling them, I promise you not, this is the most vegan work I made. There are seaweeds. So I was trying to approach to these bodily aspects, to the rituals, to the symbols. The way of using the materiality is very important for me. I try to make the same kind of amulets or objects. I'd like to work with a lot of natural materials because of the tactility, because of the temperature, because of the weight, because of the expression that they have, that they offer me, and that I create. This is more or less the way how I exhibit my work. This was an exhibition at KIO that I wanted just to share with you, where I exhibit my pictures, my objects, a lot of drawings. I always try to create an atmosphere, and I will always try to communicate something that maybe we will understand or maybe not, but I guess it's very important that we keep just trying to talk to each other, to give information to each other, and to be kind. So thank you very much.